We won't use either the linear color key or the spill suppressor in this composition, so we'll select both of them by holding the Shift key down and selecting both, then using the backspace or delete key to remove those. We'll move on to comp number 2, the Circus Guy key. Here we can see the entire clip in its own composition. You'll notice that there are different cuts throughout the single layer, and although they're all on green screen, each green screen may be set up a little differently, and from take to take, the lighting may change depending on the elements in our shot. It's important to break up the clip into individual layers before we attempt to key it. One effect may not create a good key for all of the clips in this single layer. In order to easily break this up, I've set markers here in the timeline so you can simply navigate to those. By clicking and dragging the playhead and holding down the Shift key, the playhead will snap in the timeline to the next marker. Additionally, you can use the K or the J key to navigate either forwards with the K key or backwards with the J key. We'll navigate to the second marker where the face has a close-up. To break this up, simply park on the marker, then use Ctrl-Shift-D or Command-Shift-D on a Mac to split the layer. After you split the layer, After Effects still obeys the in point for the original layer, then sets a new in point for the newly created layer that you've just made by splitting this layer. We'll navigate down to the third marker by using the K key. Again, we'll use Ctrl-Shift-D or Command-Shift-D on a Mac. And After Effects will again create an out point for the layer that we had selected, then creates a new in point for our new layer. We'll continue to do this by using the K key to navigate down to the next marker and splitting the layer again. If you navigate further past the last marker, you'll see that there are no more events in that last section. If you want to make new markers, you can simply move to anywhere on the timeline, then with the layer selected, use the asterisk key on the number pad. That's not the number 8 with the Shift key, but instead use the asterisk key on the number pad, which will allow you to create a new marker. You can use the Control or the Option key, then hover over that newly created marker to get a scissors icon. By clicking on it, you'll delete the marker from the timeline. Here we can see all of the markers that were created by duplicating the layers. You may want to go through and remove those or simply name them. By double-clicking on any marker, you'll bring up a dialog box allowing you to make comments. And these comments can show up inside of your clip notes. There's also an area allowing you to make chapter and web links, as well as URL specifications and Flash video cue point and parameter notes. We'll hit OK and leave these markers in place. Now we see that we have 6 separate clips that might all have different setups. By quickly scrubbing through the timeline, we can see that there are several events here, here, and here, which all share the same lighting and the same subject matter. So we'll be able to use the key more than once inside of this composition. We'll navigate back to the first clip. We'll need to make sure that that clip is selected before we apply our effect. We'll go up to the Effects pull-down window and again visit the Keying family of effects, and this time navigate down to Key Light. Key Light is a very powerful keying tool and is actually a third-party plugin that comes with After Effects. Offered by the Foundry, Key Light is one of the premier keying tools and fits within the framework of other compositing hosts as well. By clicking on the About icon here at the top of the effects controls, you'll get a small information box describing very simply what Key Light is and how to use it. We'll click on the window to dismiss it. This parameter, About, really isn't going to help us much when we're setting up our key, so we'll close this window up and allow more room for the parameters of this very complex plugin. At the very top of the plugin, we can see the word View, and what we'll be viewing is what comes out of this effect. Remember, the effect is just being applied to the layer, and the parameter for View will allow us to render whatever this effect allows us to view. Currently, it's allowing us to view our final result here in the comp window. However, we can also take a look at several other options inside of this plugin. Source is the source material that we bring into the composition and that we're using currently in our layer. The source alpha is any alpha channel that may be associated with this clip. The corrected source displays a color correction that we may have made to the RGB image. Color-corrected edges are just the fringe that may overlap with our matte. The screen matte, again, is our alpha channel that we create with the plugin, and there's an ability to make an inside mask and an outside mask with mask shapes that will work within this key light plugin. We have the ability to look at the combined matte from all of these elements, the status of our key, an intermediate result, and last, our final result, which we'll want to make sure is turned on when we go to make our final render. Directly below that, we have the ability to see an unpre-multiplied result, which allows us to see the edges of our matte and our screen color. Now, the screen color is actually the color of our key, the thing that we want to remove from the scene. By default, it's set to black. Now, nothing, not even black, has been keyed out yet. It's really a null color. Instead, we'll use the eyedropper and select a green from our comp. We can use any color of green, but as we've seen before, there are all types of variations with striations of bright green and shadows of dark green and creases and folds and some anomalies in the screen itself where there are darker areas. So we'll want to pick a very neutral green, which we can find over in this area next to his head. By simply clicking once on green, we can see that Keylight has delivered most of the image already keyed out. By toggling the transparency grid on, we can see that there's still some residue of that green screen in our composition, which has automatically been spill suppressed by the Keylight effect.